You are listening to a special edition of the Central Indiana Sports Report, our Eastbrook Sectional preview with Grant Shouse of the Action Sports Network and Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader. And I want to get right to it, but I also want to let you know about my new daily podcast called Greg and His Friends Talk Sports. Every day from 10 to 20 minutes, my friends and I talk about whatever Central Indiana sports fans are talking about, whether it's the Pacers, Fever, Colts, IU, Purdue, IndyCar, local colleges, national sports, or high school sports. Please join me and my friends every day on the Central Indiana Sports Report. You're going to want to subscribe. Welcome, high school basketball fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for an Eastbrook sectional preview. And with me, I have Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader sports editor Michelle Garmon, who has seen many of these teams, and the guy who's calling the sectional for the Action Sports Network, along with Kevin Helfrich. That is Grant Shouse, is also with me. And guys, nothing against Burris and Madison-Grant, which, by the way, should be a really good game in game number 2. But most of our focus tonight, of course, is going to be on Blackford Alexandria because, of course, Wapahani and Eastbrook are both capable of winning this sectional. But game 1 out of the chute, Blackford and Alexandria, is a great one. Grant, your thoughts on this one heading in to Tuesday night?
I think you're poised for maybe 2 classic games, to be honest with you. I like how both games match up on paper, especially the first game with Blackford and Alexandria. I know John Harrell actually has Alexandria favored by 2.
Whoa.
Looking at the metrics, looking at stats, comparing some things, Alexandria is playing really good basketball right now. And the metric being that they've won 7 in a row, and since the turn of the calendar, they're 10-2. And their 2 losses have been to Oak Hill and LaPel. Not a whole lot of teams have beaten Oak Hill and LaPel this year. So there's that, and I think that Alexandria has a good shot to beat Blackford. Now, the task is going to be tall, however, just due to the fact that Blackford's added the 6'8" kid in Petro. They've got Amari Leggett. They've got Mason Kitterman. They've got other guys that play their roles, and they're very well coached. I'm impressed with Blackford, what I've seen this year. They've beefed up their schedule. They've played teams that are tough to beat, like a Fort Wayne Snyder, one of those kind of teams. I know that they kind of had a rough stretch here. See, because like we said, in Alexandria's last 7 games, they're 7-0. And
Right.
Blackford's last 7 games, they're 3-4. They have a losing record here down the stretch. And they've played a tough stretch here. It kind of started with the Frankton loss there, where I think just a lot of that is scouting and knowing how to kind of throw a wrinkle there that maybe Blackford wasn't expecting, so give them a lot of credit. And then they run into Oak Hill. Again, not a whole lot of teams are going to beat Oak Hill, if any, for the rest of the year. They could win the state championship. Of course, I'm biased, but
Yeah.
I think that
The only loss that was kind of not understandable was Monroe Central, and that was in overtime. But other than that, all of them were pretty understandable. You look at it, we talked to Coach Daniels, and Michelle said rough stretch, and she corrected herself, said tough stretch, because that's probably the better word for it, because
absolutely
the schedule early on wasn't very tough. The schedule late in the year has been very tough, Michelle.
Yes, it has. Grant, I'm going to ask you, obviously you've probably covered Blackford and seen them play before Petro was playing varsity basketball. Have you seen them since, and what kind of a difference does he make, do you think, entering into the tournament?
I actually have not seen them with him yet until tomorrow night, until Tuesday night. But I can tell you that going from not having a 6'8" guy to having a 6'8" guy surely is going to make a difference, right?
And he's a good 6'8" guy. Guys, he is a legit player. I mean, he is probably the 3rd or 4th best player on the team. Jacob Dillon is also a pretty nice player. That makes their front line really tough.
I was going to say, and I would imagine his size will help against Alexandria's pressure. I saw the first half of the Alexandria Frankton game on, I was watching it on my phone while I was actually covering another game.
And the life of a reporter these days.
And I saw Nicken go down, And once he went down, I watched the rest of the half, but then the second half, I concentrated on the game I was at because I knew it would be really tough for Frankton to do anything without him on the floor. But Alexandria's pressure gave Frankton some trouble. And I know Frankton's had trouble with pressure this season, but of late they had done better against it. And but I thought Alec was just their anticipation of passes. But I guess when you can throw it up to a 6'8" guy who, if he's a good passer, can hold it high and turn and outlet, that's a nice breaker.
And Kitterman and Ellen in particular are very good passers.
One of the points I wanted to make here about Alexandria is that, typically with Coach Carroll, that they're going to throw the kitchen sink at you on defense. They're going to make adjustments. Right. They're going to switch things. It's kind of been their give here since Garth Cone, that's just how they've played. That's just how they've coached it. And so if Blackford can make adjustments, again, like you heard Coach Daniel say, that this is going to be a completely different game compared to the last time they played, where Alexandria really had a good shot to win the game.
All right, guys, let's hear from Alexandria head coach Marty Carroll. All right, Coach, 7 wins in a row to end the regular season. What is your team doing so well toward the end of the regular season there?
I think it starts with playing really hard and playing together and trusting and believing in each other.
I think before the tournament draw, this seemed like a wide-open sectional, and now it seems even more like a wide-open sectional. 6 teams have to believe they can at least get to the sectional championship. 4 teams legitimately can win this. When you look at the field, how do you assess it?
Well, 3 of the teams in it beat us earlier in the year, so I think all 3 of those teams are good. And then if it's the sectional and you never really, in a one-game deal, who knows what can happen. Somebody gets hurt or, something unfortunate for one team could change things, or foul trouble, or, there's a million different things that can go wrong for somebody, but no one's going to walk through it. I know that.
A little disappointed when you saw the draw that it shook out the way it did, that you're going to have to beat maybe the 2 best teams in the sectional the first 2 games?
I think the draw, I've done this for 40 years, and the draw is the draw, and you put your best foot forward and figure out what you got to do and hopefully win a game so that you can prepare for another game. But everybody's in the same boat. Would I like to have Wapahani's draw? Maybe. Also, sometimes I've seen teams that get a bye and come out and somebody's won a game and they're settled in maybe. Yeah. So who knows?
First of all, what makes Blackford so good? Obviously had one of their best seasons in program history. And what has to be different the second time around to beat them on Tuesday?
Well, first of all, they're really good. They've got a really good roster. Obviously, Amari's really good and can do a lot of different things. And then for us, the biggest thing, might be their size for us. We don't have that kind of size. So that'll be an issue, I'm sure. And I thought we played them well the first game of the year, or the first time we played them, 5th game of the year, I think.
First CIC game.
First CIC game, and we actually didn't shoot the ball very well. So it's still basketball, and the ball's got to go in. It's got to go in. That's still how they keep score. So
that's right.
So that affects things too. It's just there's a lot of things that can go right and a lot of things that can go wrong.
Last question, Coach. What would a sectional championship mean to your program and to this community?
I think it'd be huge for our kids, and we've struggled a bit recently, and we've slowly feel like we've built something, and a lot of the kids that are played as freshmen, the senior class, those kids have played a lot of basketball, not a lot of winning basketball, like we would have liked, but we feel like we're on the rise.
Grant, you've seen the Alexandria Tigers a lot. Tell us about them.
Yeah, again, they're a team that is filled with athletes. You see the guys that they have, where a lot of their guys are 3-sport athletes: football, basketball, and baseball. One of the guys that stands out to me is Bryson Eckler. He's their leading scorer. 12 points a game, shoots the ball well, and he's arguably their best athlete. Him or Fuller, Mason Fuller's probably their best athlete.
Two really good ones.
And Eckler, I feel like, has the ability, and I've seen it this year. I mean, you and I, Greg, saw it at Edinburgh back between Christmas and New Year's, that he has the capability to kind of just turn it on at any time and go take over a game. He's
been playing really well since then.
Yeah, and so I was impressed with him in the Oak Hill game. Obviously, Cam McAtee is their point guard. I would say, in a way, he's the engine of the offense, and he's one of the best. Coach Carroll and I talk a lot, and he's told me that Cam McAtee is probably the best player in their program right now. He thinks that he's capable of being 1,000-point scorer, I think, Cam McAtee. So I'm impressed with Alexandria. Of course, you mentioned Mason Fuller and Jackson Brizendine. This is a really good team. They are better than 15-8. And it's shown here, like we said, since the turn of the calendar, where they're 10-2 in their last 12 games. I've been really impressed with the way they've played, and Blackford's going to have to come ready to play on Tuesday night if they want to try and beat Alexandria. If Alexandria were to win, I'm not so sure I'd call it a huge upset.
No.
Because I think I really think it'll be a good game. I think it can be a toss-up.
Yeah.
Hopefully both teams show up at their full strength and are ready to go, because I'm ready for a good tournament basketball game.
Hey, it might be the best team at the sectional.
Yeah, it could be very well. Although I think Eastbrook at home is going to be awfully tough for whoever wins that. One guy you didn't mention, Grant, was Brady Gast. And speaking of which, the sectional gods kind of owe Alexandria one, don't they?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, they kind of do here, and so I'm pulling for him. I've covered him a lot, seen and talked to Coach Carroll a lot this year, and I hope they can get it done. I think they can. I think they're capable, and it's going to be a heck of a game on Tuesday.
Grant, how big of a key is rebounding going to be in this game, especially because if Alexandria struggles to knock down outside shot, I mean 3-point shots at all, with Blackford's size and length, it's probably going to be very important for the Tigers to keep them off the boards.
Absolutely. Rebounding is key in every single game, but especially this game. This is one of those where Blackford may have a little bit of a size advantage, but in a way, and I hope both of you kind of understand this, I think Alexandria may have a little bit of an athleticism advantage, just in the way that they have athletes that know how to compete and have had success. And
even when they're undersized, they haven't really seemed undersized.
Oh, I 100% agree. They gave Oak Hill a heck of a game for midway through the first half, and Oak Hill kind of turned it on. Oak Hill only beat him by 16 points. I mean, it's to the point now where with Oak Hill, I think they're one of those teams where like, oh yeah, we only lost by 16 points. It ain't that bad.
That's right. That's right.
I think Oak Hill is that team that is like a dominant wrestler in a wrestling match. It has somebody that they know they can work on moves on and toy with them. And I kind of think that Oak Hill is at that point and at that level that there are teams that they're going to play that maybe get within. And I'm not saying Alec didn't deserve to be within 16, but a team doesn't get inside 20, 25 points against Oak Hill, mainly because Oak Hill is working on things.
It takes the foot off the gas and all that stuff.
Yes, and working on something for their long-term goal, which, like you said, is to be down at Cambridge and hopefully cutting down the nets there.
Just wait till next year, man. Whew.
Back with this game, the rebounding is going to be big. I think Alexandria really crashes the glass hard, and just the way they can rebound the basketball. Again, adding the Petro kid for Blackford is that it creates a different dynamic here, because you don't have a 6'8" guy to go up against in practice when you're preparing and when you're working. So that kind of changes it a little bit. So hopefully that Alexandria can kind of combat that and try and out rebound, because that's going to be one of the big keys to victory on Tuesday. Is like whoever wins the rebounding battle can win the game.
How deep does Elliott go to where if they would get into a little bit of foul trouble early, adjusting to like Petro and his size? Because you can sit there and say what you want, but sometimes when you're used to being an athlete and crashing the glass against guys your size, you might get a little bit taller up there, but against a Petro, if you don't have positioning, you can end up in foul trouble.
That's a good question. Alexandria goes about 7 deep with their 5 of Connor Kettery, Cam McAtee, Bryson Eckler, Mason Fuller, and Jackson Brizendine. And then they'll bring in Brady Gast off the bench, and then they'll bring in John Amon off the bench. And they actually changed that about midway through the year. They made a change in the starting lineup where they put Fuller back in the lineup and they took Amon out, and that really has made a difference for them. So they're actually pretty deep. I think 7 deep is about, and I think it's solid deep for a decent high school basketball team at this level. And so they go about 7 deep. So I think that really can kind of hinder on Tuesday night.
Guys, Blackford, one of their issues all year has been depth. I think that Petro helps that for sure. Coach Daniels said more than anything gives kids a break because they were playing 5 guys 32 minutes for a while. But let's hear from Coach Daniels about the Tigers and his team and Eli Petro and, of course, his star, Mari Leggett, and the pieces around him. And then we'll come back and make our predictions for the sectional. Coach, the last couple of weeks of the season may have been your best 2 weeks. How are you feeling about your team heading into this sectional?
I'm feeling pretty good. We definitely went through a stretch there that was tough down the stretch there. With we started with a bad loss with Frankton at home, then just kind of skidded a little bit. But then we got things going and got going again and beat a good Northwestern team at home. Then went to Fort Wayne Snyder at the end of the year. Put a great effort together. Almost came away with the victory there, and then took care of Burris at home in our season finale there. And so I'm feeling really good about where we're at. I feel like truly we're playing our best basketball here at the end of the season, which really going into sectional time, that's all you can ask for. And yeah, we've had some bumps in the roads, but I think we're better for it. We played a tough schedule here as of late, and we've taken some lumps, but at the same time, I think we put together some good basketball. And I think going into tournament play, we're playing our best basketball. I think people realize that, and I think we've got a good product to put on the floor.
Coach, this is an Alexandria team you're going to play on Tuesday who is playing their best basketball of the season. They've won 7 in a row coming into the tournament. And talk about the challenge or the challenges that Alexandria is going to bring on Tuesday night that you guys are going to have to try and combat.
Yeah, and it's a totally different game than early in the year. We played them in December. We're 2 totally different ball teams now than we were then. I mean, they've got different kids that are stepping up and playing. We've got different kids that are stepping up and playing. But the one constant remains is that they play extremely hard and they feed off of their defense. And you've got to take care of the basketball. And that hasn't changed from the December to now. And the other part is we still have Mari Leggett and the way he performs and different things. They're a really well-coached ball team, and they've continued to get better. They went through the similar stretch that we did, but theirs was earlier in the year, and they've righted the ship a lot earlier than we did. They're coming into this game with 7 wins. They're feeling really good about themselves. They've had some huge wins here down the stretch, and they're a dangerous team. If you do not play one of your best basketball games of the year, they're capable of beating anyone, just like we feel we are, as long as we can continue to put things together.
Coach, that was one of your biggest wins early in the year, wasn't it?
It was, and we knew that Alexandria going into the year, they didn't graduate much last year, and we knew their record wasn't super strong last year, but we saw the quality of kids they had, and we knew going into the year that they were going to be one of the favorites in the conference and in the sectional. And so when we got them early in the year on the road at Alexandria, we turned it over a ton. We felt really good about that win, and I don't think on paper looked as good until late, but we knew what kind of basketball team that Alexandria had, and they're good. I mean, they've got depth. They play extremely hard. They've got a lot of things that you need to have to make a tournament run in March.
Hey, Coach, I know Leggett draws a lot of attention. Do you think through this just tough schedule part towards the end, that his teammates have learned to step up and look to fill the slack when he's being doubled or triple teamed?
That's a great question. I think that's probably the number one thing that we've grown. And I think some of it is his teammates stepping up and making plays. But I think a lot of it is really just Mari. When Mari realizes that, when you do get triple teamed, The other guys are willing to step up and make the plays, but Mari has to trust them, and he has to be willing to pass the ball when he's got three people. And Frankton kind of was the first team that kind of threw that defense at us. They threw three guys. They put length on him. And I think early he was still trying to make those plays. And we told Mari, there's going to be nights where we're going to need you to score 50 points. And that sounds ridiculous, but he's that kind of talent. I mean, he's the kind of kid that can go out and get 30 or 40 on a night. But we also tell him there's also going to be nights where, Northwestern, where they put three guys on him, you're going to have 15 assists, and it's going to have to be that game. And so I think one is Mari deciding that, I'm going to take what the defense has given me, and if they're guarding me with three people, I'm going to have a lot of assists early, and we're going to get the others involved. But then I think the other fold is that we've got to trust our teammates. We know we have good players. And early in the year, it was confusing to all of us because we knew that our role players were good, and people just weren't guarding them, and we couldn't figure out, how to get things going and things. And I think a lot of that is the trust that we've built through this tough stretch, and I think it really showed at Northwestern. We took on a team at home that, was a good basketball team, and they just really had no answer. When they doubled Mari, he found open guys, and we made shots. And when they didn't, he was able to get to the basket and score. And so when you have that ability and we have other guys that can score, it just makes us that much more dangerous. But I think a lot of it is just Mari learning to read and react and grow up a little bit. And there's times even myself that I've got to remember that he's a 16-year-old sophomore, and we put an awful lot of pressure on him. I mean, he's a fantastic ball player.
Hey, Coach, one of the things I wanted to ask you here, and I'm calling the game tomorrow night, so we may talk more in depth about it tomorrow, but obviously Leggett garners a lot of attention for your team. I mean, he's obviously the engine to your offense. He makes it go. But what about guys like Mason Kitterman, who have, I don't want to say lived in the shadows, but have kind of been your second option? And he's a guy that would probably play on almost every team in the state everywhere else.
I try to tell people as much as I can because the kid deserves the credit, but Mason Kitterman would be 1,000-point scorer on most 2A basketball teams in the state of Indiana. He got sandwiched between 1,000-point scorer last year. Mari was a freshman last year, averaging 14 a game. And now he's got a high Power 5 kid that's a sophomore below him. And that's what makes us so dangerous. And he tells people all the time, if we can make a tournament run, it's all going to be worth it. But Mason Kitterman is a fantastic player. I mean, he is probably an NAIA caliber player. He's 6'4". He shoots it really well. And when he gets going, it just makes us that much better. And that for a kid to be the second option, we knew we were going to have a 1-2 punch going into the year. We knew we were going to be really hard to guard because of those two. And he just comes to work every single day, does everything we've asked of him. And you're exactly right. Most nights we have the best two players on the floor. When you have the best two players on the floor, you always feel like you have a chance to win. He just brings an added element that's hard to defend because Mari garners so much attention. And then now you add in Elijah Petro, who we got just a couple of weeks ago. It just makes us even harder to guard because it gives us an inside presence and a kid that can score it as well. And it just makes us dangerous.
I know you got Petro back in, or got him, and it's been a couple weeks. Has there been any trouble adjusting with his teammates, the flow in game? I'm sure he's been practicing with you, but when you go against a live opponent, it's a little bit different.
It's a lot different. You're exactly right. And in December, we got him, and he'd been practicing with us, and it seems like everything would be all good and easy. And he started to play some JV, but it's just different. And until you get him out on the basketball court, it's just hard to mesh. And so the first two games, we got him at Northwestern and Snyder, and he was starting to learn. And we were trying to do some things that were out of our realm and making some passes. And you're exactly right. It took some time to get him into the flow. And then I felt like last week with Burris at home, he had 15 points, and I think he finally started to realize the flow of the game. Defensively, he's been really good for us because he's so long and athletic, and I think that was easier to pick up on. But offensively, at the JV level, he had to dribble, he had to be the guy. But then when you get Mari Leggett, it's a lot more of stepping in off penetration and reading and reacting to what they're doing, and it has taken some time. I still think it's going to take some time here in the tournament run. We hope he can get it earlier than later, but he's such a special talent that just his presence alone on the defensive end gives us a little added something, and we know it'll take some more time to get him going, but we think he's starting to fit in really nicely there.
Coach Daniels, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to hearing from you on Tuesday night, and good luck at Eastbrook.
Yeah, good luck, Coach.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the coverage. Thank you guys for all you do.
All right, guys, sorry to Burris and Madison-Grant, but we didn't spend much time on that. But let's start with that, Grant, in your prediction, the Argylls or the Owls?
That's a good question. I know they played last week, and Muncie Burris beat them by 3. Saw Madison-Grant last Friday against Daleville, and it was a game that they got off to a nice start. Daleville hit a bunch of threes on them, and Madison-Grant tried to dig himself out of the hole. Zawan Johnson had 29 points in the win against Daleville, and Brock Barnhart had 13. Other than that, they just don't have a third guy.
That's the thing is, oftentimes they have 2 of the best players on the floor, but just haven't been able to find the rest of those guys.
And consistency has not been a big key for Madison-Grant, which has been tough for their success. It's a young group. It's actually a team I think can be really good next year if they can get in the gym and get stronger and get ready. Because, and Coach Hendrickson's told me this, I'm sure he's told you this, Greg, is that a lot of his guys, when the season ends, will not pick up a basketball until June when it's time to play in some summer leagues. And then after that, won't pick up the ball again until November. And that is one of the frustrating things as a coach because you're sharing athletes at a small school. Madison-Grant's going to be 1A next year. We all know that. That's going to be one of those things where hopefully if they can get in the gym, they're going to be a good team next year. I'm going to take Muncie Burris to win that game on Tuesday night. I think it'll be another competitive game, but Muncie Burris has had a pretty good season by their standard, and I like them to beat Madison-Grant on Tuesday.
Okay, here's my thing. Grant, I kind of feel for you. I guess you'll be fresher for that first game, but it's kind of almost like covering a varsity game and then a JV game.
I know what you mean. You kind of wish it was flipped a little bit. If you're doing both games can be tough. And because we really anticipate the first game with Elwood and Blackford to be a classic. Hopefully both games are classics.
Michelle, your pick.
I'm actually going to take the Argylls. I like Coach Hendrickson.
Been a rough year for Madison-Grant, but like I said, they probably have the 2 best players on the floor. I'm going to take the Argylls in that one, and we'll go in reverse order. I've been back and forth on this. I just think Alexandria is playing so well. Give me the Tigers against Blackford, Michelle.
Now, I hate to do this because I like Marty and I like his sons and everything, but I've covered sectionals for so many years, and I've seen it. If the best player on the court is a guard and he's yours, like with Leggett, and you've just given him another weapon, I'm going to take Blackford because I think a guard can just take over a game. I've seen it at Tipton through the years, and I just think that Leggett is that guy. I think it's going to be a great game, and I actually think this could be a game that goes 1 or 2 overtimes. How's that?
Wow.
Interesting.
Grant, you're the rubber match.
Yeah. I can't stand you guys for putting me in the spot. I like Alexandria on Tuesday. I do.
Do you like Alexandria to win the sectional, Grant?
Yes, if they win Tuesday, I think so. I saw them against Eastbrook. I saw them against Wapahani. They lost both. I actually saw those on back-to-back nights, to be honest. This is a different Alexandria team than when they played Blackford, Eastbrook, and Wapahani the last time. They played Blackford, Eastbrook, and Wapahani in a 3-game stretch in the middle of December. There is a good chance they could play all 3 of them again, all in a row, the same order, this week. Wow. And they lost all 3 of those games. I think they're capable of rewriting the ship here and being able to pull some upsets and knock them off. I like Alexandria to beat Blackford on Tuesday night, and I'm with Michelle. I could see it being a multiple overtime kind of game, and I hope it is.
Michelle, you taking Blackford to win the whole sectional?
Oh, man. I think if they get through that, they'll have a hard time against Eastbrook, but because all those 3 teams are CIC teams, I don't think you have that necessarily that letdown. But I think Wapahani is positioned to win that sectional because I think whoever comes out of that Blackford or Elwood game has another nail-biting tough game with Eastbrook. And if they pull out, and if that Eastbrook game, semifinal game, is really ragged, I think Wapahani's going to coast. So I think they're in position to win the sectional.
So you're taking Wapahani, and I'm going to take Eastbrook at home. And so 3 different picks, and none of them are Blackford. What's that tell you about this sectional?
It's wide open.
Grant, Michelle, thank you so much for your time. Everybody go listen to the Elwood sectional preview with Grant and Michelle. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
And thanks so much to Coach Daniels and Coach Carroll for joining us. And please do us a huge favor, share this podcast with a high school basketball fan in your life and help us spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about every single day. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, Grant. Have fun. I think you're going to get to see a great opening game tomorrow night.
I hope so. I can't wait. Appreciate it, Greg.
Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.